Dave, let's start from the very beginning. Your background is mostly in healthcare. So, take me back. How did you end up working with Law Tigers?
Yeah, great question, Chris. I spent about 19 years in healthcare. I began that career as a recruiter, a nurse recruiter, and kind of worked myself up the ranks to leading teams of physician recruiters and talent acquisition and such. And so I spent, like I said, about a couple of decades in that space, and was just looking for a little bit of a change, and had an opportunity to be available. And actually, Ari Levenbaum, one of the owners of Law Tigers, found me through an executive search firm that made the introductions. And I love what I heard about niche marketing, and I'm kind of a marketing background guru. I just love it. I'm just kind of just really locked into learning more about it and how it works, and how it can be more effective for clients. And when I heard about the motorcycle practice niche within the personal injury space, I thought it was a brilliant concept. So they had me right away. So it was worth taking a leap into unknown territory.
Yeah, just right out of the gate. And I know we're going to talk about the details, but I think the overall strategy is just so smart. And we'll get into some of those elements. But yeah, I agree. They would have hooked me as well. Let's talk about, are there similarities between legal and medical, or was it like, hey, you had the passion for marketing, but was it like a big leap, or was it, hey, this is business, let's get to it?
That's another great question. It's interesting because many that know me and get to know me realize that I'm not a really hardcore salesperson, and my background lends to being more of a operations and strategic minded individual that kind of worked in healthcare. But this job is very much that I'm selling a very high value, comprehensive marketing program. And but yeah, I took to it like fish to a water, Chris. And there's some very similarities in the audience that I'm speaking to. So I spent years chasing physicians around the country, and now I'm doing the same with attorneys. They share some of the same headspace, and let me see the best way I can say this politically correct. Some of them walk around with the God complex and a little bit important, to the community, and so I tend to do well in communicating with physicians and attorneys, and so yeah, it was very very similar. I felt very comfortable making the transition. What was new to me is really just understanding how to navigate, through legal marketing. I didn't realize that that is definitely the backbone to the success of the law firms. If they want to grow their practice, they have to get the marketing correct.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And we're definitely going to talk about those different elements of marketing, really dig in. But for those listening who don't know what Law Tigers does or who they are, kind of give us a background.
Yeah, high level overview. So Law Tiger's been around for over 20 years, and we are a mixed marketing company. Let me just start by saying a motorcycle injury niche marketing company. We do that with a comprehensive infinity marketing program, which consists of three buckets, and that's digital marketing, traditional advertisement, and also grassroots marketing advertisement. And so our goal for attorney firms that actually buy into the Law Tigers brand, what we do, Chris, we license it out to personal injury law firms across the country, almost similar to a franchise model, but that's not bar friendly, so I stay away from describing it that way. And we do all the marketing for the firm, and obviously we have just a targeted niche, and that's just motorcycle cases. And majority of us are riders ourselves, and so we approach that, through trust, being authentic, and being in the trenches with the riders, and the result of that is the trust takes us to the next step of them reaching out to us if they have a need, if they were in an unfortunate accident.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an interesting model because you've got the B2C tied in with the B2B with and you took, so I had my next question was going to ask very similar to a franchise model, but we won't use the word franchise. We'll say licensing. So let's talk about that. Let's say that, how does that work? If a personal injury attorney wants to kind of use the trust that Law Tigers has built for 20 years and these proven marketing strategies in different areas, what does it look like to apply to become a member? And, what's in it for them? What's in it for the listeners?
Oh, absolutely. So, the best way I can answer that question is, most firms that see value in partnering with us, they're looking to diversify their practice. They're looking for a competitive advantage, right? And so motorcycle cases, does just that. We know that there are a whole bunch of them across the country in every territory that we represent, and some of those that we're looking to represent. And it's backed by, it's obviously, unfortunately, when they go down on bikes, they're
Yeah.
very serious injuries, right?
Mhm.
Very, they can be highly catastrophic in nature. And so these cases are extremely, valuable cases to the injured, but also to the attorneys also for their fees, right? But let me go back to the initial question. So, how this happens is obviously I'm the VP of Business Development. My responsibility is to grow the brand across the country, membership, onboarding of Law Tigers. And so it's an exclusive membership, Chris. So once we go into a market, and it's really aligned to DMAs, and I know you get this, and it's more so
Mhm.
TV buys. So there's some states that have multiple DMAs, such as California has 4 in Southern California and 2 in Northern California. Then you have states like Georgia that has 1, or Louisiana that has 1 as well. So once we identify a true partner in that market, it's off the table. We won't sell it to a competing firm, and so they own rights to the brand, and we brand under law. Obviously, we market under Law Tigers, and they adopt our mixed marketing team here. We have a highly comprehensive team of digital advertisers and our senior buyers for traditional. And our grassroots game is one of the most complex offerings that we have. I think that we often identify it as a secret sauce, right? It's something that is very hard to replicate, and it would take years to really get it kind of tuned into where we've gotten it so thus far. So yeah, so I can jump into that a little bit later. But our grassroots is, our market managers are on the road every day, and they're winning friends and influence people. They're meeting with Harley Davidson dealerships, tow companies, parts stores. They're supporting community drives, healthcare, first responders. It's a pretty cool role. And that's really what I feel, in my opinion, is what gets us over the hump and put us at a true competitive advantage.
Yeah, and let's stick with that. So you had these I had these wrote down, the grassroots, digital marketing,
Yeah.
traditional, and I also want to talk referrals and just
Yes.
individuals and how they become successful. Let's stick with the grassroots. I saw doing some research that you have, over 30 regions. You've got these on the ground marketing managers. You know, what types of things are they doing? Are they setting up events? Are they, you said, they're making relationships with the Harley dealers? What's kind of, I'm not asking you to do the proprietary, we don't reveal all the secret sauce, but what's kind of their role to help the PI attorney succeed?
Yeah, they are the face of the program. So if you're a rider, if you're a non-rider, they're the first point of contact in the community. Now, their role, they do have to ride, and so they do what you just mentioned. They're at local rallies, regional rallies, national rallies. They're at a lot of community relations events. They are really out there, and I know you read this book, but winning friends and influencing people. That's our grassroots efforts make up of 40 to 50% of our generating cases. So that's a
Oh,
huge push. Yeah, it's a huge number. It's one of the most important pieces to our kind of infinity marketing strategy, if you will. But yeah, these guys and girls, we have 42 stretched across the country. We're in 32 states, 47 markets, and we're growing. And it's at the core of what we do. What I'd like to just mention to you is I know we'll touch on digital and traditional, but it's really a true infinity marketing when you talk about the multi-channel media approach. They all
mhm.
support each other.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's phenomenal. And here's the thing, and I know we're going to talk about traditional too. I see your guys' brand everywhere around where I'm at. The billboards,
Yeah.
I just see it. And so it's just really top of mind, memorable. I know exactly, what Law Tigers represents. The billboards have that one key message. But let's talk about digital marketing. You knew I was going to go there next. And
Yeah.
I looked up your guys' site on some competitor analysis tools. You're doing well with SEO. I imagine that all the content, all of the messaging is catered to one persona so that when you type in those, motorcycle keywords, you guys have a strong chance to show up.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have a team that are experts in that area. I don't claim to be, but it's what you said. It's kind of a flywheel approach. We spend a lot of time on marketing, automation, and SEO, PPC. Anything that falls into the digital realm, we do it in-house here. Our team, we have content specialists, content writers. We have videographers that are on the road. They're shooting day in the life at our firms across the country. They'll show up at a bike build. And so it's really true, at its truest form of being authentic to riders. And so part of digital is a huge push. You know it as well. I follow you on LinkedIn and other platforms, and I can consider yourself as a guru. And
Thank you.
our team here, that's really pushing the needle as we go into many markets. Digital is really shown to be a quick start for us. And what I mean by that is it's the impact on generating cases is, at light year speed compared to some other mediums. Don't share that with other teams that represent other mediums.
Right. Right. Yeah. And, from a local SEO, the map pack standpoint, just keying on that for a moment, it's broken down into three factors: relevance, distance, and prominence. Well, you couldn't be more relevant when all of your reviews are talking about motorcycle accidents, the types of cases, the safety initiatives, the grassroots, the relationships, just everything is just talking about motorcycles.
Yes, that's the key. Everything we do, and that's the true form of the definitive, guide to niche marketing is that we have an advantage, right? Because we play in one small sandbox, and it's just like I use other narratives. You probably see some of my posts or talks around. You look at In-N-Out Burger, or you look at Chick-fil-A, or you look at these niche. I mean, if you can niche down, I mean, I always say that it's you're going to be in front of your competition, right? Because a niche will beat out a generalist any day. And I think at all marketing mediums, we're all trying to develop trust and win over, right? Win over the trust of our future clients. And so we're able to do it more so at a grassroots level that really builds likability and understanding that we're one of you, and we're all together, and we're family. So we, like I said, we have a leg up in that respect, but it's still a lot of work to get in front of these riders and for them to trust and the Raw Tigers brand across the country.
It's interesting. You keep saying that word trust, and that's immediately what I think of. I had a conversation with a sales professional recently, and he said every conversation's a conversation built upon trust, and every sale is built upon trust. And we had Seth Godin on the podcast, and he talked about niching down. He said, find the subset of a population where you can help them and just be exceptional. And so let's talk about some of those. And we've already highlighted some of the big benefits of niching, but what are some in your eyes, when you mentioned trust, what are some of the big benefits of niching?
Yeah, well, the jack of all trades, it used to be attractive, but I think when you're injured, if you're really in need, I mean, for any, across all spectrums, I don't care if it's cable or or service around your home. You want the expert, right? Especially if you're injured and you hurt yourself, you want the best. And I think that allows you to really target your audience. And so when you have a niche such as Raw Tigers that embarked on over 20 years ago, it allows us to really truly be the industry experts. And so that's the value proposition that many attorney firms across the country, when they look to partner with us, they say, hey, you know what, I want to be identified in my local market as the motorcycle lawyer of choice. And we know that by partnering with Raw Tigers and as a companion brand, that we can do that. And we will allow them to be themselves as well. It's interesting. It's something that we kid around the office a bunch, is that, man, we have a lot of fun in what we do. It's almost like a fraternity of individuals who are kind of highly underserved in the personal injury space and somewhat misunderstood, right? And as we open up in conversations, I made a transition from healthcare to legal, and when you talk about bikers and riders, I had a true stereotype of what that compass. I thought it was just a,
Right.
a leather vest with a bunch of tattoos and a lot of MCs and motorcycle clubs. But when we're out there in the community and supporting not only the community but riders, they come from all walks of life, and so they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're they have all different type of professions, and you'll be surprised with now some of the bike sales that are just through the roof. It's almost screens out certain demographics that even afford the bike. So it does lean towards some of your higher earning professionals. But so I'm kind of a digression on your question, but yeah, so we're able to really meet people exactly where they're at with our brand. The law tigers, you'll see a lot of personal injury attorneys, and this is not to put them down in any way, but they'll have their face on a billboard. And we kind of call them talking heads. And so when you look at our billboards as far as traditional, you'll see the tiger, and the tiger takes on a life of its own. Obviously, there's different meanings for different people around loyalty and protection, but it meets people exactly where they're at. So it's very discriminating towards backgrounds or religions or race or anything like that, because people relate to the brand of the tiger. And I just thought that was brilliant by Warren Levenbaum, who obviously created the brand some years ago. That I said, that's brilliant, because your brand is what others are saying or thinking about you when you're not in the room. And so we take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and on that tiger, the swag and the mascot, and you can kind of tie throw that lasso around him on the billboards, social media. So that's really appealing. I like that. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was when someone becomes a member, there's a different type of agreement in regards to referrals. So most referrals, there's like this kickback, but tell me how you guys are different in regards to the referral relationships.
Yeah, so at the core of what we do, the referral program is built into law tigers, right? But our attorneys, they keep 100% of their fees. So we don't do any fee sharing. It's much more than a referral program. You own rights to the brand. It's a 30-year membership, that renews on 9 terms. So it's a very long-term play. We've had members with us over a decade that actually extended their 30-year membership for junior associates in the firm. And many firms really enjoy us that have legacies as well, because they want something to leave behind for their kids when it's time for them to retire. Chris, so one of the challenges that many firms are embark in, and I speak to many attorneys like yourself daily, is that they put so much pressure on their own brand to perform for them, and not just as an individual, but everyone depends on their brand, right? How many times you've spoken with firms and the name on their firm, that attorney is no longer even practicing or even there, but they're depending on that brand. So when you bring in a companion brand, it allows you to extend reach into uncharted territory that otherwise your brand probably don't have access to, reaching into. But it also gives you opportunity to gather and dominate additional market share in the marketplace. And so that's why we really describe it as a friendly companion brand to existing brand. It's no different than what Nike and Jordan are doing. I have some kids that are pretty competitive in sports, and they just love Jordans. And the reason I talk about it is because it breaks my bank every time these Jordans.
Yeah.
Write him a letter and let them know, man, hey, bring down the price, please, because my kids love the shoes. But but they love Jordan. But I'm an old school Nike guy, right? And so, but my point is, it's still complementing the same bottom line. And so when you look at a firm that's looking to diversify your practice, or extend your reach into other areas that maybe your brand don't have the access to, or opportunity to reach, then I would say consider bringing in a companion brand. What other better space than motorcycle cases? It's one hell of a practice area.
I couldn't agree more. And I have some follow-up questions on that too. But the one thing that I always see that I love about your billboards is it says, like, in a motorcycle accident ? It's like one statement. I'll see some of these billboards on the highway and it'll say car accident ? Slip and fall. Like, what are you doing? You're not contextualizing the environment. People aren't slipping and falling on the road. Like, I know you're trying to maybe build a brand, but I think contextualization is everything when it comes to marketing because of how saturated it is. And first of all, I think that's just critical. I love the no fee sharing, with the referrals, and get 100% of that. And my second question was this, and do you see, I was going to ask, who of your members that are succeeding, are they just going all in Law Tigers? Are they moonlighting a little on the side, doing a little the slip and fall cases, the other stuff, or is it those just laser focused and just going all in?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. Majority of our members, they own multiple markets, and I think that speaks to the value. Many of them will, they'll buy one market, and a year or two in, they'll see that the scalability of a motorcycle practice, and they'll get back on the phone with me and Dave, hey, I want to buy the neighborly state. So majority of our members, they own multiple markets. I think that that's smart, right? Because if you find something that scales, and you have a brand that's going to bleed over in other DMAs, it's nice to gain that territory. Also where members that are successful with us are just great operators and get great trial attorneys. I mean, honestly, these cases, that there are a lot of them, as I mentioned. I mean, just in Florida, and this is top of mind because I'm working on growing out Law Tigers in that market right now. We're in the Panhandle. We have 4 other markets to sell, but just in Florida alone, there's over 10,000 injuries and unfortunately fatalities annually there, and result to motorcycle accidents. And so that number right there is just outstanding. Now, I must point out that all of our marketing, and you've witnessed it, we don't focus on the horrific events of motorcycle crashes. In fact, 100% of what we do in the field is around awareness and rider education. That's, I mean, once again, the owners of Law Tigers, they both ride, and like I said, many of us do as well. The last thing we want to happen is for you to go down, but we know it's a lifestyle choice, right? Anytime you take a little risk to jump on a bike, it's not the question of if, but when. It's like being a football player, and I know you're a big guy. Listen, you may play a little sports too. I'm an ex-football guy, and I have 4 knee surgeries and countless of other surgeries. But I understood that was, there's a high possibility of that happening. And the same thing in the motorcycle space. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And I see a lot of it, the motorcycle helmets, the precautions, the defensive riding, and, the charitable giving and just support that you're promoting. And I see that everywhere. And I'm sure that also brings trust to the riders, as opposed to always painting that picture of doom and gloom type of marketing around their head.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's important. It's really a lifestyle play with us, right? Everything we do has a direct call to action. We have rider benefits where, if someone was, in the accident, and someone actually, avoided the scene and pulled off of, and if a good Samaritan in community, took a license plate down or anything like that, we've given out rewards locally. So like everything we do is to really support the riders. And I think that's the only way to do it. I mean, when you've been looking at marketing, one would ask me, what's most important about marketing? And I just think that, marketing comes from the heart. I mean, you have to be your truest form. You have to be strictly, I mean, it has to be 100% authentic, right? Mm-hmm. Building a positive moment of truth with your audience. And so that's what we try to do our best, of just being, who we are, and nothing different, right? And so, it's been working out for us for quite some time. And you speak about our members. I mean, early members in our program, we make it, 2-3 million in fees, and just a year before the pandemic, our Arizona market, took in $20 million in fees alone.
Wow!
And to answer your question, that was just strictly motorcycle cases. So they've been at it so long, and they've seen the value of motorcycle cases. They turned their firm strictly into a motorcycle practice. And so does that happen across the medium for Law Tigers? No. Our other members, they work in other general areas within PI, and they work on other areas that fall in the umbrella of PI, I should say. But they do see the extreme value in having a niche practice, because it does a couple of things. Not only the value of these cases, it allows you to go compete. Like, you have some large rainmaker firms, and we know who they are. Every market, they kind of outspend each other. But if you can get a competitive niche to operate in, it's almost like we're like this little fishbowl that the bear can't put his hand into the bowl, right? It doesn't fit because we've carved out our space. And even if you try to do it, and many people have done this, Chris, where Photoshop themselves on a leaning on a bike, or hired an influencer to promote the program. And I'm not picking on them, but riders are very picky. They want to see you in the trenches. They want to know that not only that you can put up a billboard, or you can write some great content, but that you're actually there for them, that you're shaking hands, and you're building those meaningful relationships.
Yeah, and there's a couple things there that I just want to piggyback on is, most law firms are built in a fractured environment where they're restricted to their local environment. And that's their brand. And that's where it just centers and kind of expands out, where since you have this relationship with the leasing, with the licensing, you don't work in a fractured environment. You can actually work nationwide. So my piggyback question of that, my follow-up question of that is something like, let's talk Google pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, if we were going to do it in, let's say, Los Angeles, it would be extremely competitive. But can you bid on some of those broader terms across the nation and kind of pool the spin to kind of rising tides help everyone?
You're exactly right. And you know more about that than I do, Chris, but you're exactly right. It's, the nationwide, casting your net broad works for us because, once again, it's just motorcycle cases. And I'll spin the question back on you.
Sure.
What are some areas, and you've done some research, how do you think we favor in those approach or strategies?
Well, I think you do really well. That's why I asked him. I think you do incredibly well for SEO. SEO is my main focus. I looked at the Google ad strategy. I always wondered, Law Tiger is memorable. It's a great name. Bike Tiger or Bike Law or something. I was just wondering, maybe there was something there. But that ship has sailed. That was 20 years ago. You would have had to make that decision.
Exactly. Yeah. The Law Tigers, and anything to do with bikes, and so people call it Tiger Law, but no, keywords are critical. But it's really down to the affinity marketing. If you look at our strategies, even with traditional and digital, where we don't claim to be the master in both those areas, but we do enough to really move the needle, and it's on the back and heels of our grassroots in the community as well. So when it comes to SEO, if you look at our SEO, I don't think we're going to be as enhanced in what you're offering, but once again, we just kind of really target our niche within the motorcycle space.
Yeah, and you're doing really well with that. And so, a couple final questions here, Dave. So, what's a few of those big markets? What's a few of those big open markets for our listeners that you have open? And what's an investment look like? I know that every market's probably different, but what's an investment look like?
Hey, great question. So, right now, I think I mentioned we've kind of grown in the western part of the country. We're working our way through the southeast and eastern part, and not to forget the Midwest. So right now, some of the hot markets, in my opinion, are Florida. We have Ohio available, Michigan, Philadelphia, Wisconsin. Come on, that's the headquarters of Harley Davidson. So some of these markets that are left out there available, I tell you, if you do have a firm in that market, we definitely need to talk. Once again, I'm not a pushy or a hardcore salesperson.
Right.
I'm just more so interested in opening up a relationship with you. And so the cost, Chris, it does vary. Everything is tied to accidents, number of injuries and fatalities, and size of your market, of course. But we've really taken an approach as we've grown and matured as a brand to work with you, and to, if it makes sense, if you're great operators and you see the value in diversifying your practice in the targeted niche, then let's talk. I would love to, we have a build out performer for every market in the country that scales in a 6-year period, and we've actually drawn it down to projected cases that we would bring you annually. So we're very results driven, but not only results driven, analytical and data driven as a team. We track everything, the numbers, the truth are in the numbers, Chris. And when we go into a market, we should have a strong opinion that we could bring X amount of cases. For example, I can kind of dig a little bit deeper. So for Orlando, we know that there's over 2,700 injuries and fatalities in that market alone. So 4% of that number, don't quote me exactly, I'm trying to do my math, I think we'll bring north of 70, close to 80 cases in year one. And so, and we understand that there's going to be some quicker resolutions, and there's some other outside operational challenges, maybe with lower limits in your area. I will make mention that for the 1% contributory states, we occupy 3 out of 4. So we're in Virginia. We are also in Alabama, and there's another in North Carolina. We're in North Carolina. So 3 of those states there where most people would say, "Wow, man, how did you guys launch Law Tigers in those markets with 1% contributory state?" Well, I tell you what, it's just an incredible niche to operate in. Obviously, we partner with some of the best firms in the area, so I'll give kudos to those guys because they operate very well. And then we have a great team here in Phoenix, Arizona, our corporate office where I'm housed and where I office out of, and our marketing team. They love what they do, and it's their pleasure and complete obsession with driving value to the firms that we partner with.
Fantastic, fantastic. Dave, what questions, is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to cover? And then where can our audience learn more, and where are you most active on social media?
Yeah, so I'm on a few platforms, Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn. You can just type in Law Tigers and it'll get you there. We do have a couple of buckets there with B2C and B2B. Of course, I live in the B2B area, so I'm forward facing with a lot of attorneys and attorney firms that's looking to join Law Tigers. Chris, you asked a lot of great questions, and I would just say that another great thing is we have different offerings to law firms, but it just shows that the true marketers that are out there are vendors like ourselves that know that we're going to do what we say and say what we do. That we're going to, you have to take that out. Sorry, we're going to provide value to our clients, and we're going to be very authentic and honest in doing that. Once again, man, we're here to just really improve and enhance the quality of care to the injured in the motorcycle space, but also we want to help law firms grow their practice. We're very passionate about that.
Love it, love it. Dave, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you, Chris, man.